Hello beautiful people. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button on your screen to subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us. Now, let's dive into today's incredible story. Solange Coleman stepped off the private jet in Seoul wearing the wedding gown she designed herself because if she was going to be trafficked into a billion-dollar dynasty, she'd damn well do it on her own terms. The groom waited in a wheelchair, dangerously handsome, eyes darker than the Han River at midnight. Ji-hun Park, the cold mafia boss, heir to an empire. 1 year of fake marriage, one house full of enemies, one anonymous threat already watching her every move. What happens when the gold digger and the broken heir start falling for real? And the people that poisoned him want her gone next. Buckle up. This marriage is about to explode. Solange Coleman stood in the middle of her tiny Soho studio, surrounded by racks of half-finished dresses and bolts of silk that shimmered like broken promises. The rent notice taped to the door had been there for 3 weeks. The electricity flickered every time the AC kicked on. Her phone buzzed again, another collection call she let go to voicemail. 28 years old and everything she'd built was crumbling. She heard the key turn in the lock before she saw her mother. Dolores Coleman swept in wearing her Sunday best church coat even though it was Tuesday, the scent of white diamonds and desperation trailing behind her. "Baby, we need to talk," Dolores said, voice already trembling. Solange didn't look up from the mannequin she was pinning. "If this is about Daddy's latest investment, I already told you I'm tapped out." Dolores set her purse down like it weighed 100 pounds. "It's worse than that." The words landed like a slap. Solange finally turned. Her mother's eyes were red-rimmed the way they got after too many nights praying over bills. "Your father signed over the house," Dolores whispered. "To cover the markers. They're coming for everything. The brownstone, my retirement, your business." Solange's stomach dropped. "How much?" 2.3 million. With interest, closer to 3. The number was obscene. Solange laughed once, sharp and bitter. "We don't have $3 million, Mama." "We might," Dolores said quietly. "There's an offer." Solange's hand stilled on the fabric. "What kind of offer?" Dolores pulled an envelope from her purse. Thick cream stock, gold embossed seal, Korean characters beside elegant English script. Park Global Holdings. Solange's pulse kicked hard. She knew the name. Everyone knew the name. Park Ji-hun was the youngest trillionaire heir in South Korea's tech aristocracy until the accident that left him in a wheelchair and half the business world wondering if he'd ever walk again or lead again. Dolores opened the envelope with shaking fingers. "They want you to marry him." The room tilted. "Marry him?" Solange's voice cracked. "A stranger? A billionaire in a wheelchair? Mama, are you out of your mind?" "It's not like that," Dolores rushed on. "It's strategic. His family needs an American alliance. Quiet, clean, no scandals. Your uncle's company is the perfect bridge for their next US expansion. They'll pay off everything, the debt, the house, your studio. They'll invest $10 million into your brand. You'll be set for life." Solange snatched the papers. The contract was 20 pages of legalese. But the terms were brutally clear. 1 year of marriage, public appearances, discretion. After 12 months, an amicable divorce if both parties agreed. No children required, no intimacy mandated. But the clause that made her blood run cold, failure to comply meant immediate foreclosure on every asset tied to the Coleman name, including her startup. "This is human trafficking with better stationery," Solange said. "It's survival," Dolores countered. "Your father's in hiding. They sent men to the house last week. Real men with guns. You think I want this for you? But if we don't do something..." Solange threw the contract on the cutting table. Fabric fluttered like wounded birds. "I'm not a bargaining chip." "You're our only chance," Dolores whispered. Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. 3 days later, Solange sat on a private jet bound for Incheon, wearing a cream silk dress she designed herself, because if she was going to be sold, she'd at least walk in looking like the queen she was raised to be. She hadn't spoken to her father since he called to sob apologies. She hadn't spoken to her mother since Dolores hugged her at JFK and whispered, "God will forgive us." The flight attendant offered champagne. Solange declined. When the plane touched down, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom waited on the tarmac. 2 men in dark suits bowed slightly as she descended the stairs. One held an umbrella even though the sky was clear. Protocol, she supposed. The drive to Gangnam took 40 minutes. Skyscrapers rose like glass spears. Billboards flashed in Hangul and English. She caught glimpses of her reflection in the tinted windows, full lips painted deep berry, braids swept into an elegant high bun, diamond studs her grandmother left her. She looked expensive. She felt hollow. The Park family estate sat atop a private hill. All sharp angles and black marble. Armed security at every gate. Inside, the foyer alone was larger than her entire apartment. A woman in her late 50s waited at the top of the curved staircase, Madame Park Soo-jin, Ji-hun's mother. She wore a navy hanbok reimagined in modern couture, hair pulled into a flawless chignon. Her smile was polite and arctic. "Miss Coleman," she said in perfect English. "Welcome to your new home." Solange forced her lips upward. "Thank you for having me." Soo-jin's eyes flicked over her, cataloguing, judging. "The ceremony is in 3 hours. Your stylist is waiting." No small talk. No warmth, just efficiency. Upstairs, in a suite the size of a ballroom, 3 Korean women descended on Solange with dresses, jewelry, makeup. They spoke rapidly in Hangul, measuring, pinning, murmuring approval at her figure. Solange let them work. She felt like a mannequin. When they finally stepped back, she looked in the full-length mirror and barely recognized herself. The wedding gown was ivory silk charmeuse, off the shoulder with a dramatic train embroidered with delicate cranes in gold thread, a fusion of Korean tradition and Western elegance. A diamond choker rested against her collarbone, heavy as shackles. Her makeup was flawless, glowing skin, winged liner, deep red lips. She looked like royalty. She felt like prey. The ceremony took place in the estate's private garden under a canopy of white orchids and floating lanterns. 200 guests, mostly Korean business elite, watched in silence. No one clapped when she walked down the petal-strewn aisle. No one smiled. Ji-hun Park waited at the altar in a tailored black tuxedo, seated in a matte black wheelchair customized to look more throne than medical device. His face was beautiful in a severe way, high cheekbones, sharp jaw, eyes so dark they swallowed light. His hair was jet black, swept back. No smile, no warmth, just quiet, unreadable intensity. When their eyes met, something flickered in his, surprise, maybe. Recognition or pity. Solange's heart slammed against her ribs. The officiant spoke in Korean, then English. Vows were exchanged like business terms. Rings slid onto fingers. A single photographer captured every moment for the inevitable press release. After the pronouncement, Ji-hun reached for her hand. His fingers were long, elegant, surprisingly warm. He lifted her knuckles to his lips in the barest brush of a kiss. Public theater. The guests applauded politely. At the reception, champagne flowed. Toasts were made in Korean. Solange smiled until her cheeks ached. Ji-hun remained at the head table, answering questions in clipped tones, never once looking at her for longer than necessary. Near midnight, as the crowd thinned, a young man in a charcoal suit approached her, Ji-hun's personal aide, Thai Minute. He leaned close, voice barely above a whisper. "Be careful, Mrs. Park," he said. "Not everyone in this house wants this marriage to last." Before she could ask what he meant, he melted back into the crowd. Solange turned to find Ji-hun watching her from across the room, their eyes locked again. This time there was no flicker of pity, only something darker, something that looked suspiciously like warning. The night ended with them escorted to the master suite. The door closed behind them with a soft, final click. Ji-hun wheeled to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. He didn't turn around. "You can take the guest room," he said, voice low and even. "Or the couch. I don't care. Just stay out of my way." Solange stood in the center of the enormous room, still in her wedding gown, diamonds glinting at her throat. "I didn't ask for this either," she said. He finally looked at her. "Then we're agreed. This is a contract, nothing more." She lifted her chin. "Fine." But as she walked past him toward the adjoining door, she caught the faintest scent of cedar and bergamot on his skin. And for one dangerous second, she wondered what it would feel like to be wanted by a man who looked at the world like he could burn it down. She shut the door between them, and the silence that followed felt louder than any vow. The first week in the Park mansion felt like living inside a museum exhibit labeled "Do Not Touch." Solange's days were measured in silence and small, suffocating rituals. Breakfast was served at exactly 7 a.m. in the east dining room: steamed rice, grilled mackerel, fermented soybean stew, and a single perfectly sliced persimmon. She hated fish for breakfast. She ate it anyway. Ji-hun never joined her. He left before dawn in a convoy of black SUVs, returning long after the city lights turned the Han River into liquid silver. When their paths crossed in hallways wide enough for 3 people to walk abreast, he gave the barest nod. Once, he paused long enough to say, "The chef can prepare something else if you prefer," in that low, careful voice. She told him no. She didn't want favors. She wanted freedom. The staff treated her with exquisite courtesy and subtle distance. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Kim, always bowed a fraction deeper when Solange passed. The younger maids whispered behind their hands when they thought she couldn't hear. She caught the word Hyujin more than once. Black person. The tone wasn't always cruel, but it was never warm. She spent hours in the suite they'd assigned her, sketching new designs on the massive glass desk overlooking the garden. Her laptop still had the old logo of Coleman Atelier, the brand she'd poured 5 years of her life into. The investment clause in the contract promised funding, but she hadn't seen a single wire transfer yet. She told herself it was coming. She told herself she was still in control. On the 8th night, she couldn't sleep. The mansion was too quiet, no sirens, no neighbors arguing through thin walls, just the distant hum of the city and the occasional soft chime of the grandfather clock in the corridor. She slipped out of bed in silk pajama shorts and an oversized t-shirt, barefoot on heated marble floors. The hallway lights dimmed automatically as she moved. She wandered past closed doors until she reached the one she'd been warned about, Ji-hun's private study. The door wasn't locked. She told herself she was just curious, just bored, just angry. She pushed it open. The room smelled of cedar, leather, and old paper. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined one wall. A massive desk dominated the center, flanked by 3 monitors that glowed faintly in sleep mode. On the far side, a glass case displayed vintage cameras and a single-framed photograph, Ji-hun younger, standing on a yacht with wind in his hair, laughing, legs strong and sure beneath him. Solange's chest tightened. She moved to the desk. One drawer was slightly ajar. She pulled it open, medical files, dozens of them. She flipped through the top folder. Scans, blood work, toxicology reports dated 2 years ago. The words leaped out in clinical black and white. Thallium poisoning. Chronic exposure. Permanent neurological damage to lower extremities. Prognosis, unlikely full recovery. Her breath caught. She opened another file. This one had photographs clipped inside, Ji-hun in a hospital bed, eyes hollow, skin grey. A handwritten note in the margin in English. Attempted assassination. Suspect internal. Evidence insufficient for prosecution. Her hand shook. She kept going. A third file contained emails. One from an anonymous account. The chair is permanent. The empire is next. A chill crawled up her spine. She was still staring at the screen when the door opened behind her. Ji-hun wheeled in, stopping short when he saw her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then he spoke, voice dangerously quiet. "You're in my study." Solange closed the folder. "You were poisoned." His jaw tightened. "Get out." "No." She turned to face him fully. "Someone tried to kill you. And your family knows. They still let you run the company like nothing happened." He rolled closer, eyes narrowing. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "I know enough." She held up the folder. "Thallium, that's not a car accident. That's murder attempt. And you're still here playing house with a stranger you married for optics. Why?" Ji-hun's gaze dropped to the papers in her hand, then lifted to her face. Something raw flickered there, anger, exhaustion, maybe shame. "Because if I walk away, they win," he said. "And I don't lose." Silence stretched between them, taut as a wire. Solange set the folder down. "Who did it?" "I don't know," his voice was flat. "Not for certain." "But you suspect?" He didn't answer. She took a step toward him. "Your sister? Your mother? Someone in this house?" His eyes flashed. "Careful." "I'm tired of being careful." Her voice rose. "I was dragged across an ocean, sold like livestock. And now I'm living with people who might be murderers. You think I'm going to tiptoe around that?" Ji-hun's hands gripped the arms of the chair so hard his knuckles paled. "You think you're the only one trapped?" The question hung there, sharp and unexpected. He exhaled, slow and ragged. 2 years ago, I could run boardrooms, climb mountains, fuck whoever I wanted without thinking twice. Now I can't even stand long enough to kiss my own wife at our wedding without looking pathetic." Solange's throat closed. He looked away, jaw working. "You're not the prisoner here. You're the audience." Something cracked inside her chest. She crossed the remaining distance and crouched in front of the chair so they were eye level. "I didn't sign up to watch you suffer," she said softly. "And I'm not going to pretend this is normal." His gaze snapped back to hers, close enough now that she could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow. The way his lashes were unfairly long. For the first time, he didn't look like the untouchable heir. He looked human. "You should leave," he said, but the words lacked conviction. "I can't," she answered. "Not yet." Neither of them moved. Then slowly, he lifted a hand. His fingertips brushed the side of her face, just once, barely there, like he was testing whether she was real. Solange didn't flinch. His thumb lingered at the corner of her mouth. "You're not afraid of me." "I'm afraid of a lot of things," she whispered. "You're not one of them." The air between them turned electric. He leaned forward just a fraction. She met him halfway. Their lips brushed once, twice, then harder, hungrier. His hand slid into her braids, cradling the back of her head like she might disappear. She gripped the arms of his chair for balance, tasting salt and cedar and the first real thing she'd felt since landing in Seoul. It lasted seconds, maybe 10. Then he pulled back, breathing uneven. "Get out," he said again, but this time his voice cracked. Solange stood on unsteady legs. Her lips tingled. Her heart was a war drum. She walked to the door without looking back, but as she reached the threshold, she heard him murmur, almost too low to catch. "Be careful who you trust in this house, Solange." She paused, hand on the knob. "I already am." She stepped into the hallway. Behind her, the study door closed with a soft, final sound, and somewhere deep in the mansion, someone else was listening. The kiss lingered like smoke in Solange's lungs for 3 full days. She avoided the study, avoided the east wing where Ji-hun's private gym was located. Avoided the dining room at meal times. She told herself it was strategy. Keep distance. Keep control. But every time she closed her eyes, she felt the press of his mouth. The way his fingers had tightened in her braids like he was afraid she'd vanish. On the fourth morning, Mrs. Kim knocked once and entered without waiting for permission. "Madam Park requests your presence at dinner tonight," she said in careful English. "Family only." 8 o'clock. Solange looked up from her sketch pad. "Tell her I'm not hungry." The housekeeper's eyes flickered with something close to pity. "It is not a request." Solange exhaled through her nose. "Fine." She wore black, a sleek high-neck jumpsuit she designed last year, tailored to razor precision. Power armor. When she descended the grand staircase at 7:58, every head in the formal dining room turned. Madame Sujin sat at the head of the long ebony table, spine straight as a blade. To her right, MJI, Ji Hun's younger sister, 30 and viciously beautiful, red lipstick the color of fresh blood. To Sujin's left, an empty chair that Solange assumed was meant for Ji Hun. 3 other seats remained empty, distant relatives or placeholders, she didn't care. MJI spoke first, voice honeyed and sharp. "You're late." "I'm exactly on time," Solange replied, sliding into the chair opposite MJI. "Fashionably so." Sujin's smile was thin. "We value punctuality in this house." "Then you'll love New York traffic," Solange said. MJI laughed once, short and cold. "How charming. Tell me, does your community always speak so freely at dinner?" "My community," Solange repeated slowly, "values honesty and good food. Not this fish." Again. The first course arrived, steamed sea bass with ginger and scallions. Solange pushed it aside. Ji Hun wheeled in at that moment, cutting the tension like a blade. He wore a charcoal sweater over a white shirt, sleeves rolled to the elbows. His eyes found Solange immediately, held for 2 heartbeats, then moved away. "Good evening," he said to the room. Sujin inclined her head. "Son, we were just getting acquainted with your wife." "Were you?" Ji Hun's tone was neutral, but the air shifted. MJI leaned forward. "We were discussing how fortunate you are, Oppa. An American alliance. A beautiful accessory, and so convenient for Uncle's merger talks." Solange's fork paused mid-air. "Excuse me." MJI smiled sweetly. "Didn't he tell you? The real reason for this charming little marriage is your uncle's fiber optic patents. Park Global needs them desperately. Your father's debts were simply the perfect lever." Solange's gaze snapped to Ji Hun. He didn't flinch. "It's business." "It's coercion," she said quietly. Sujin dabbed her mouth with linen. "It is necessity. The company is under attack. We needed stability. You provided it." Solange set her fork down. "And what happens when the merger closes? Do I get shipped back with a nice severance package?" MJI laughed again. "Oh darling, you'll be lucky if you last the year." Ji Hun's voice cut through. "Enough." The table fell silent. He looked at his mother. "Solange is my wife. Treat her as such." Sujin's eyes narrowed. "She is a means to an end. Nothing more." Solange stood. "I'm not staying for this." She walked out, heels clicking on marble, heart hammering. Behind her, MJI called sweetly, "Run along, Cinderella. The clock's already ticking." Solange didn't stop until she reached the rooftop terrace. The night air was cool, scented with jasmine from the garden below. Sol glittered beneath her like spilled diamonds. She gripped the railing until her knuckles ached. Footsteps, the soft hum of wheels. Ji Hun stopped beside her. "I should have told you." "Yes," she said. "You should have. I thought it would make things worse." "It did." He exhaled. "Before the poisoning, I was different. Reckless. I hurt people, used them. When the chair happened, I thought maybe it was karma. Then they offered this marriage and I saw a way to keep fighting. I didn't think about what it would cost you. Solange turned to him. I'm not your redemption arc. I know. His voice dropped. But I'm starting to wish you were. She searched his face. The city lights carved shadows under his eyes. For the first time, she saw the man beneath the air. Tired, cornered, still fighting. Something in her softened, just a fraction. Before she could speak, her phone buzzed. New York number. Her mother. She answered on speaker without thinking. Dolores's voice came through, thick with tears. Baby, we need more money. Your father's creditors, they're at the door again. They want another $500,000 or they're taking the cars, the furniture. Solange closed her eyes. Mama, I can't. You have to. You're married to a trillionaire now. Just ask him. Please. Jihan's expression didn't change, but his hand tightened on the armrest. Solange ended the call. Silence swallowed them again. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. He reached out, fingers brushing hers on the railing. They're not your fault. Their hand stayed like that, barely touching but enough. Then her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A text. Careful, Mrs. Park. Some secrets are better left buried. Ask your husband about the night of October 12th. Solange's blood ran cold. She showed Jihan the screen. His face went blank. That was the night of the poisoning. She stared at him. Someone's watching us. Before he could answer, the terrace lights flickered. Then went out. Darkness swallowed them. A second later, glass shattered somewhere inside the house. Jihan grabbed her wrist. Stay behind me. He wheeled toward the door. Solange followed, pulse roaring in her ears. They reached the hallway just as Time Minute appeared, breathless, phone in hand. Sir, intruder. West Wing. Security is sweeping. Jihan's voice was steel. Lock the house down. Time Minute hesitated. Sir, the cameras caught something before they went dark. He turned the phone screen toward them. Grainy footage. A figure in black moving through the corridors. The figure paused, looked directly at the camera, and lifted a gloved hand in a mocking wave. Then the feed cut. Solange's stomach dropped. Jihan's grip on her wrist tightened. Get her to the safe room, he told Time Minute. No, Solange said. I'm not hiding. Jihan looked at her, really looked. Then he nodded once. Fine. He released her wrist, but his fingers slid down to lace with hers instead. Together, they moved into the darkened house toward whatever waited in the shadows, and somewhere behind them, MJI smiled in the dark. The intruder was gone by the time security swept the West Wing. No forced entry, no fingerprints, just one shattered Ming vase and a single black silk glove left on the floor like a calling card. Time Minute bagged it for forensics, but everyone knew this wasn't random. This was personal. Solange didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of her bed, phone clutched in both hands, rereading the anonymous text until the words blurred. Jihan didn't come to her room. She didn't expect him to. By morning, the house returned to its polished surface. Breakfast served, staff bowing, everything in place, but the air felt thinner, sharper, like the moment before a storm breaks. At 9:17 a.m., Jihan knocked on her door. He didn't wait for her to say come in. He wheeled inside, wearing a navy suit, tie loosened, looking like he hadn't slept either. We're going to the office, he said. No preamble. Solange raised an eyebrow. We? You're coming with me today. Every day until we figure out who's behind this. She crossed her arms. And what exactly am I supposed to do? Sit pretty in your boardroom. No. He met her gaze. You're going to help me launch something new. Something they won't expect. He waited. Park Global is rolling out a consumer wearable line next quarter. Smart jewelry, fashion-forward tech. We've been struggling with the aesthetic side, too sterile, too Korean market-focused. You fix that. Solange laughed once, incredulous. You want me to design jewelry for your company? After last night, I want you to remind them who they married, he said quietly. And I want them to see you're not going anywhere. Something in his tone, quiet steel, made her pause. She studied him. What's the real play? His jaw ticked. MJI controls the current design team. If we launch something she didn't touch, it weakens her narrative that I'm too compromised to lead. And it puts you in the room where decisions are made. Solange exhaled. You're using me as a weapon. I'm asking you to be one, he corrected. There's a difference. She let the silence stretch. Then she nodded once. Fine. But I want creative control. No committees, no vetoes. And when this is over, my name goes on it. Coleman Atelier X Park Global. Done. By noon, they were in the executive floor of Park Tower, Gangnam's tallest glass sphere. The conference room smelled of fresh coffee and new money. 20 executives stood when Ji-hun entered. They bowed to him. They stared at Solange. She walked in wearing a crimson blazer dress she'd pulled from her own collection, braids swept into a high crown, gold hoops catching the light. She didn't smile. She didn't bow. Ji-hun took the head of the table. Solange sat to his right. No one dared sit there. He spoke in crisp Korean, then switched to English for her benefit. We're accelerating the Aura line. New direction, cultural fusion. Miss Coleman, Mrs. Park, will lead creative. Murmurs rippled. MJI, seated halfway down the table, leaned forward. Oppa, with respect. The design team has already finalized mood boards. We're 2 weeks from prototype. Ji-hun didn't look at her. Then burned them. The room went still. Solange spoke for the first time. I want sustainable materials. Recycled gold, lab-grown diamonds. African-inspired patterns fused with hanbok silhouettes. Bold, unapologetic, global. One of the older executives cleared his throat. That may not appeal to our core demographic. Solange smiled, sharp. Your core demographic is aging. The future buys identity, not just function. You want to compete with LVMH and Apple? Stop playing safe. Ji-hun's mouth twitched, almost a smile. MJI's eyes narrowed. This is reckless. Ji-hun turned to her. Then step aside, little sister. Or stay and watch. The meeting ended 20 minutes later with Solange given full access, a private studio on the 47th floor, and a team of 6 designers reporting directly to her. She felt the shift the moment they left the conference room. Heads turned in the hallways. Whispers followed. For the first time since arriving in Seoul, people looked at her like she belonged. That night, the rumors started. By morning, Korean gossip sites ran headlines, Park Ji-hun's foreign bride takes over billion-dollar project. Diversity push or desperate PR. Anonymous sources claimed Solange had seduced her way into the role. One tabloid published grainy photos of her at the wedding, captioned, gold digger or cultural savior. Solange stared at her phone in the studio, jaw tight. Ji-hun wheeled in at dusk. I'll sue them, he said without preamble. Don't, she set the phone down. Let them talk. It means they're scared. He studied her. You're handling this better than I expected. I've been black and ambitious my whole life, she said dryly. This isn't new. He exhaled. I should have anticipated it. You should have, she agreed, then softer, but you didn't let them stop me. That counts. Their eyes locked. He reached out. She met him halfway. This time the kiss wasn't tentative. It was deliberate. Hungry. His hand cupped her face. Hers slid into his hair. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Then the door opened. MJI stood there, phone in hand, expression venomous. "Touching," she said. "But you might want to see this." She turned her screen toward them. A video. Solange's face from years ago. College party. Too much tequila, dancing on a table in a crop top. The caption, "The future of Park Global?" Or just another party girl? MJI smiled. "It's already trending." Solange's stomach dropped. Ji-hun's voice was ice. "Take it down." "I didn't post it," MJI said sweetly. "But I know who did. And they're not finished." She walked out, heels clicking. Solange stared at the frozen frame of her younger self. Then she looked at Ji-hun. "I need to go home," she said quietly. "To New York. Just for a few days." He didn't argue. 2 days later, her father arrived unannounced at the mansion. Malcolm Coleman looked smaller than she remembered, grey at the temples, shoulders hunched. He carried a battered duffel and the smell of cheap whiskey. He didn't hug her. He looked around the foyer like he was pricing it. "They treating you right?" he asked. Solange crossed her arms. "What do you want, Daddy?" He shifted. "Your mama said you could help. Just a little more. One last time." Ji-hun wheeled in behind her. Malcolm's eyes flicked to the chair, then away. "This the husband?" "This is my husband," Solange said. Malcolm swallowed. "I just need 50,000 to settle things. Then I'm gone." Ji-hun spoke before Solange could. "You'll get nothing." Malcolm bristled. "This ain't your business, son." "It's very much my business," Ji-hun said. "You sold your daughter. You don't get to come back for seconds." Malcolm's face darkened. "You think you're better than me because you got money and a fancy chair." Solange stepped between them. "Enough." She looked at her father. "Go home. Get help. I'm done bailing you out." Malcolm stared at her, eyes wet. Then he turned and left without another word. The door closed. Solange's shoulders shook. Ji-hun reached for her hand. She let him take it. That night, in the dim light of his bedroom, they crossed the final line. No hesitation, no questions, just skin on skin, breath on breath, the wheelchair pushed aside, his arms surprisingly strong as he pulled her down. Afterward, lying tangled in silk sheets, he whispered against her temple. "I can walk a little. Experimental stem cell therapy. I've been hiding it." Solange lifted her head. "Why?" "Because if they know I'm recovering, they'll accelerate whatever they're planning." She searched his face. "You trust me with this?" "I trust you with more than that," he said. She kissed him again, slow, deep, sealing something unspoken. Then his phone buzzed. "Time minute, sir. The board just received an anonymous tip. Evidence of embezzlement pointing straight at you and Mrs. Park." Solange went cold. Ji-hun's arms tightened around her. In the distance, thunder rolled over Seoul. The storm had arrived. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret. Ji-hun lay under crisp white sheets, monitors beeping in steady rhythm, and dripping clear fluid into his arm. The collapse had come fast, overexertion, the doctors said. Too much strain on a body still healing from years of poison damage. He'd pushed too hard, too soon, trying to prove he could stand for her. Solange sat beside the bed, still in last night's silk robe, hair loose and wild. She hadn't left his side in 18 hours. His eyes opened slowly. "You look like hell." He tried to smile. Failed. "You look worse." She reached for his hand. His fingers were cold. "I'm sorry." "Don't." She squeezed. "You told me the truth. That's more than anyone else in this house has done." A soft knock. Ty-Minute slipped inside, face grim. "Sir, the board called an emergency session. They received documents, bank transfers, forged signatures, all pointing to Mrs. Park." Solange's stomach plummeted. Ji-Hun's grip tightened. "Show me." Ty-Minute handed over a tablet. "Scan PDFs, wire transfers from Park Global accounts to offshore shells." One account in the Cayman Islands bore Solange's name. Another transfer routed through a New York LLC registered under Coleman Atelier. Solange stared at the screen. "This is fake. I've never seen these accounts." Ji-Hun's jaw worked. "I know." But the doubt was there, faint, in the way his gaze flickered. She pulled her hand away. "You think I did this?" "No." The word came too quickly. "Then quieter, I don't want to." Silence filled the room like smoke. Ty-Minute cleared his throat. "The board is demanding an explanation. They're threatening to suspend your authority, sir. And they've asked Mrs. Park to appear." Solange stood. "Then I'll go." Ji-Hun tried to sit up. "Solange." "No." Her voice was steel. "I'm not hiding. Not from this." She left the room before he could argue. The boardroom on the 52nd floor of Park Tower felt like a courtroom. 23 executives in tailored suits watched her enter. MJI sat at the far end, expression serene. Soo-Jin occupied the chair beside her, ice cold as winter marble. Ji-Hun's father, Park Hyun-woo, had flown in overnight. He sat at the head, silver-haired, imposing, the man who'd built the empire before handing it to his son. He hadn't spoken to Ji-Hun in 2 years. Now he looked at Solange like she was an insect. "Mrs. Park," Hyun-woo said, "explain these transactions." Solange walked to the center of the room. "No notes, no lawyer, just her." "I can't," she said simply, "because they're fabricated." A murmur rippled. MJI leaned forward. "Convenient. The same week you're granted creative control, millions disappear, and the trail leads straight to your struggling little fashion house." "My house is clean," Solange said. "You planted this?" Hyun-woo asked. "I'll prove it." She turned to leave. Hyun-woo's voice stopped her. "You will not. Until this is resolved, you are barred from all Park Global premises, and we are recommending annulment proceedings." Solange spun back. "You don't get to decide that." "I decide what protects this family," he said. "And right now, you are a liability." She looked at Soo-Jin. "You agree with this?" Soo-Jin's lips thinned. "It is necessary." Solange's laugh was bitter. "Necessary?" "Like poisoning your own son was necessary." Gasps. MJI stood. "How dare you?" Solange cut her off. "I dare because I know. The thallium. The night of October 12th. You did it, MJI. To clear your path." MJI's face went white. Hyun-woo slammed a hand on the table. "Enough. Security, escort her out." 2 guards moved toward her. Solange lifted her chin. "I'm leaving. But this isn't over." She walked out with her head high, heels echoing down the corridor. Back at the mansion, she packed one small suitcase. Her phone rang as she zipped it closed. Her mother. Dolores sounded small. "Baby, I'm so sorry." "Your father," he told them everything. About the debts, about how we pushed you into this. They paid him to talk, to make you look desperate. Solange closed her eyes. "You let him." "I didn't know until after," Dolores whispered. I thought we were saving the family." Solange's voice cracked. "You sold me twice." Silence. Then, softly, "I'm on my way to the airport. I'm coming to Seoul. I'll fix this." "Don't," Solange said. "Stay away." She hung up. Her hand drifted to her stomach. She hadn't told anyone yet. Not even Ji-hun. 2 pink lines on a test that morning. A secret she'd carried alone while he lay in a hospital bed. She sat on the edge of the bed, tears falling silently. The door opened. Ji-hun wheeled in, still pale, still weak, but determined. He stopped when he saw the suitcase. "Where are you going?" "Home," she said. "New York." His face shuttered. Because of the board. Because of everything. She stood. "The frame job. My father. Your family." She swallowed. "You looked at me like you weren't sure." "I was in shock," he said. "I never believed." "But you doubted," her voice broke, "even for a second. And that's enough." He reached for her. She stepped back. "I love you," he said, the words raw, unplanned. "I didn't plan to. I didn't want to. But I do." Solange's breath hitched. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. His eyes widened. Then something softer, something like wonder. "Solange." "I can't stay here," she said. "Not like this. Not when every day is another knife. I need to breathe. I need to think. For me. For us." He gripped the suitcase. "Don't." Ji-hun's voice was rough. "Please. I have to." She walked past him. At the door, she paused. "If you want us," she said, "come find us. Prove you trust me. Prove you'll fight for us, not just the company." Then she left. The mansion doors closed behind her with a final, heavy sound. Ji-hun stared after her, hands clenched on the arms of his chair. In the silence, his phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. "She's gone." "Good. Now finish what we started." He stared at the screen. Then he looked at the empty doorway, and something in him hardened into resolve. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. New York welcomed Solange back like an old lover. Loud, chaotic, unapologetic. She landed at JFK on a grey January morning, the kind where the sky pressed low and the wind carried the smell of pretzels and exhaust. She took a cab straight to Brooklyn, to the same walk-up she'd lived in before Seoul swallowed her whole. The studio apartment still smelled faintly of lavender candles and fabric dye. Her sewing machine waited on the table like a patient friend. She didn't unpack for 3 days. She slept in fits, hand resting on the small swell of her belly, whispering promises to the life inside her. "We're going to be okay," she told it. Mama's got plans. Coleman Atelier came back to life faster than she expected. The investment from Park Global had hit her account months earlier, quiet, unannounced, routed through an anonymous shell company. She knew who sent it. She didn't thank him. Not yet. She hired 2 assistants, rented a small showroom in Dumbo, and started sketching again. The new collection was fierce, bold Ankara prints fused with minimalist Korean lines, gold-threaded hanbok reimagined as streetwear. She called it Crossroads. Every piece felt like a middle finger to the people who tried to erase her. But the nights were harder. She dreamed of cedar and bergamot, of strong hands in her hair, of a voice saying "I love you" like it was a confession and a prayer. She ignored every call from Seoul, blocked the private numbers. When her mother showed up at the door 2 weeks later, tear-streaked and carrying a bag of takeout from Sylvia's, Solange let her in, but only because the smell of fried chicken made her stomach growl. "I was wrong," Dolores said, sitting on the edge of the couch like she might break it. "Your father's in rehab. I made him go. I'm selling the house to pay back what we can." Solange stared at her plate. "It's too late for apologies, Mama." "I know." Dolores's voice cracked. "But I'm here if you'll let me." Solange didn't answer, but she didn't ask her mother to leave either. Ji-hun arrived on the last Friday in February. She found out from the doorman who buzzed up, looking bewildered. "Mrs. Coleman? There's a man downstairs. Says he's your husband." His walking. Solange's heart stopped. She went to the window. Below, on the cracked sidewalk, Ji-hun stood beside a black Escalade. No wheelchair, a sleek cane in his right hand. Black coat collar turned up against the wind. He looked up, found her window, and held her gaze. She felt the baby kick hard, as if in recognition. She buzzed him up. When the door opened, he didn't speak at first. Just stood there, breathing a little fast, like the walk up 3 flights had cost him. "You're walking," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Therapy, every day since you left." He leaned on the cane. "Not perfect, but enough." She crossed her arms. "Why are you here?" "Because I love you." Simple. No flourish. "And because I'm an idiot who doubted you for 3 seconds too long." "You hurt me." "I know." He stepped closer. "I'm here to fix it. Or at least start." Her eyes flicked to the cane. "You flew across the world on your feet. I would have crawled." Silence stretched. Then she stepped aside. "Come in." They sat on opposite ends of the couch. She offered water. He declined. "I fired MJI," he said. "She's under investigation. Embezzlement, attempted corporate sabotage, conspiracy in the poisoning. The evidence was always there. I just didn't want to see it." Solange nodded slowly. "Your mother apologized." In tears. She's stepping back from the board. "My father is retiring early. I'm taking full control, and the company's thriving. The Aura line is in pre-orders. They're calling it a cultural phenomenon." He met her eyes. "Your name is on every piece." She exhaled. "Good." Another beat. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a small velvet box. Her breath caught. He opened it, a ring, platinum band, a single oval diamond flanked by 2 smaller black diamonds. "Simple, stunning, perfect." "I never gave you a real one," he said. "This one is yours. No contract, no timeline, just us." She stared at the ring, then at him. "I'm pregnant," she said again, softer this time. "I know." His voice was rough. "Time Minute told me after you left. I've been counting days, trying not to lose my mind." He laughed, small, watery. "You're going to be a father." His eyes glistened. "I want to be. More than anything." She looked down at her hands. "I'm scared." "Me too." He set the box on the table between them. "But I'm here, and I'm not leaving unless you tell me to." She reached out. Not for the ring. For his hand. Their fingers laced. She pulled him closer. The kiss was slow, full of everything they hadn't said. When they broke apart, she rested her forehead against his. "We're doing this right," she whispered. "No more games. No more secrets." Agreed. Later that night, after they talked until their voices were hoarse, after he'd held her while she cried, after he'd kissed the curve of her belly and whispered Korean lullabies to the baby, her phone buzzed. A news alert. Park Global heiress MJI arrested in Seoul. Multi-billion fraud and attempted murder charges. Solange showed him the screen. Ji-hun exhaled. "It's over." "Not quite," she said. "There's still one thing left." She picked up the ring box, held it out to him. "Ask me properly." He smiled, real, unguarded, the first she'd seen like that. Then he slid to one knee, cane propped against the couch, and opened the box again. "Solange Coleman Park," he said, voice steady despite the tremor in his hand, "will you marry me? For real this time?" She looked down at him, stronger, humbler, hers. "Yes," she said. And when he slid the ring onto her finger, it fit like it had always belonged there. Outside, snow began to fall over Brooklyn, soft and quiet. Inside, 2 broken people started building something unbreakable. Together. 6 months later, the cherry blossoms in Seoul had long since fallen, replaced by the heavy green of summer. The park estate garden had been transformed, white orchids mingled with vibrant hibiscus and bird of paradise flown in from Lagos. Lanterns hung beside strings of cowrie shells. A small wooden platform stood under a canopy of silk-draped arches where two cultures would meet again, this time not as obligation but as celebration. Solange stood in the bridal suite, barefoot on cool marble, wearing a gown she designed herself. Ivory silk flowed into wide sleeves reminiscent of a modern hanbok, but the bodice was hand-embroidered with Yoruba attire patterns in gold thread. A delicate gold headpiece rested against her braids, now threaded with tiny pearls and cowries. She looked in the mirror and saw not the woman who'd been sold, but the one who'd chosen. Her mother stood behind her, adjusting the veil. Dolores had been in Seoul for 3 months now, living quietly in a guest house on the estate, attending therapy with Malcolm, who'd stayed sober for the first time in years, and slowly rebuilding trust one quiet conversation at a time. "You're glowing," Dolores whispered, eyes shining. "Not just the baby. You." Solange smiled. "I feel like I'm finally home." A soft knock. Ty Minute poked his head in. "It's time, Mrs. Park." She exhaled. "Let's do this." The ceremony was small. 50 guests, family only. No press, no optics. Ji-hun waited on the platform in a tailored black tuxedo with subtle silver embroidery that echoed Solange's gown. He stood without a cane now, though he still used one for long distances. His posture was straighter than she'd ever seen it. When he saw her walking toward him on her father's arm, his eyes filled. Malcolm's steps were careful, reverent. He kissed Solange's cheek at the platform steps and placed her hand in Ji-hun's without a word. The two men looked at each other, a long, silent acknowledgement of everything that had passed. The officiant spoke in both English and Korean. They renewed vows they'd never truly spoken the first time. "I, Ji-hun Park, take you, Solange Coleman Park, not because of contracts or empires, but because you saw me when I couldn't see myself. I promise to stand beside you, literally and always. To love you fiercely, trust you completely, and build a family with you that honors every part of who we are." Solange's voice trembled only once. "I, Solange Coleman Park, take you, Ji-hun, not because I had no choice, but because I choose you every day. I promise to fight with you, for you, beside you. To raise our child with love that knows no borders. To remind you that you are more than your scars, and to let you remind me of the same." Rings were exchanged, simple platinum bands engraved inside with the date of their first real kiss in the study. Then the officiant smiled. "You may kiss your wife." Ji-hun cupped her face with both hands. The kiss was slow, deep, full of promises kept and promises still to come. When they parted, the small crowd erupted, clapping, cheers, a few happy sobs from Dolores. Later, during the reception under the stars, Solange leaned against Ji-hun on a cushioned bench while guests mingled around low tables laden with jollof rice, kimchi jjigae, fufu, bulgogi, and fried plantains. Sujin approached slowly, hands clasped in front of her. She bowed slightly to Solange. "I was wrong," she said in careful English. "About many things. I see now the strength you brought to this family. And the love you brought to my son." Solange stood. "Thank you. That means more than you know." Sujin's eyes glistened. "May I feel the baby?" Solange guided her mother-in-law's hand to the gentle curve of her belly. A small kick answered. Sujin laughed, soft, surprised, joyful. Ji-hun watched them, a quiet smile on his face. Later still, when the guests had thinned and the lanterns glowed low, Ji-hun led Solange to the rooftop terrace. He pulled a small envelope from his pocket. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it." Inside were adoption papers. She frowned. "Not for us," he said gently. "For my half-brother. My father's son. He was born 25 years ago. My father kept him hidden. Another secret. His mother passed last year. The boy, he's alone, struggling. I want to bring him here. Give him a family. If you agree. Solange looked up at him. You want to take in your brother? I want to stop hiding. From the past, from pain, from love. He touched her cheek. And I want our child to grow up knowing that family is chosen, not just inherited. Tears slipped down her face. Yes, she whispered. Yes. 3 months later, in the same hospital where Jihan had once lain broken, Solange gave birth to their daughter. They named her Nia Sujin Park. Nia for purpose. Sujin for the grandmother who had learned to bend. The room filled with family. Dolores holding Malcolm's hand. Sujin weeping quietly. Hyen Wu standing awkwardly until Solange beckoned him closer. Even the newly arrived half-brother, Minitsuk, hovered at the door, shy and overwhelmed, until Jihan pulled him inside. Nia had her father's dark eyes and her mother's full lips. When she wrapped tiny fingers around Jihan's thumb, he broke. Solange watched him cry, quiet, healing tears, and felt something settle deep inside her chest. Years passed in flashes. Coleman Atelier X Park Global became a global brand. Runways in Paris, New York, Lagos, Seoul. Diversity wasn't a buzzword. It was the blueprint. Jihan walked without pain most days. He still used the cane when he was tired, but he danced with his daughter at her first birthday, slow and careful and perfect. Minitsuk finished university, joined the company, found peace. Malcolm stayed sober. Dolores learned Korean phrases just to make Sujin laugh. And every evening when the city lights came on, Jihan and Solange sat on the rooftop with Nia between them, telling her stories of poison and betrayal, of forced vows and chosen love, of how two people from opposite sides of the world found each other in the dark and refused to let go. One night, as Nia slept against her father's chest, Solange leaned her head on Jihan's shoulder. Still shocked, she asked, teasing. He kissed her temple. Every day. In the best way. She smiled into the night, and somewhere in the glittering city below, two broken hearts had become one unbreakable family. The end. Hi lovely viewers. Thanks for watching till the end. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and click on the notification bell for more engaging stories. Your support means everything.